From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your Evening Update.
American Door Company has been family-owned and operated for over 29 years, supplying Northern California with quality garage doors, garage door openers, and installed with the best service you'd expect from a locally owned company. We serve all of Northern California from Willows all the way up to the Oregon state line. Give us a call today.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Meteorologist Mike Krueger. Let's get you right into your Krueger's Quickcast so you can prepare for the evening tonight and what you can expect as you're heading out the door tomorrow morning. Let's start off with what we can expect here for tonight and be prepared for a cold night. Yes, we're talking about rain and snow in the higher elevations in particular, but once things clear out, and they will eventually, we are going to be looking at temperatures dropping down into the low to mid 30s in the valley, teens and 20s for the higher elevations. We're talking about even in the valley, the potential for some patchy frost out there. So as you're heading out the door tomorrow morning, any rain and snow that we're seeing here tonight is going to be pretty much gone. And we're going to clear things out. We'll call it partly cloudy in most cases, maybe a few spots with some sunshine, but even at 8 o'clock in the morning, we're still in the low 30s for some of us in the valley. So you can see those series of storms coming in from the west. Now, this is the last punch before we start to see drier conditions. So let's take you through tonight. There you can see already by midnight, it's beginning to wrap itself up and we're not seeing as much activity out there. And then by tomorrow morning, it's pretty much done with and we continue with the drier trend, but still cool for the daytime highs on Thursday. And we take a look at the road conditions as we go overnight and do be prepared for the fact that there may be chain requirements. We're expecting snow levels down to about 2,500 feet and could get locally lower than that. Places like Weaverville, Hayfork, not out of the question. Etna, Fort Jones in Scott Valley seeing the potential for some snow as well. Not a ton. You're talking a trace to maybe an inch or two, but that would be the most of it. And I don't anticipate a ton of chain requirements because we're not going to see a ton of snow. But do know that there will most likely be some chain requirements, even on I-5, even on Highway 299 West and 36 in Trinity County, and obviously to the east of I-5 in the eastern mountains. But as I mentioned, it's not going to be a ton of snow. Just be prepared for those slick roads. And you're going to want to check those road conditions here throughout the evening and tonight if you have to travel in the mountains. And even tomorrow morning, early tomorrow morning, it'll be kind of left over. It'll be cold. There'll be ice on the roads. You definitely need to be careful here over the next 12 hours or so. But conditions should improve throughout the day tomorrow as we're drying things out. But it's not warming up a whole lot tomorrow afternoon. We're only in the upper 40s for your daytime highs, and for the mountains in the 30s. Coast, your temperatures will be in the low 50s for your daytime highs. But again, it is drying out, and eventually it's warming up too. We're looking at, of course, that temperatures dropping, getting back up, that is, in the valley in the mid to even upper 60s. That being said, we're going to talk about the potential for that Tule radiation fog to maybe return, maybe by this weekend and next week. More on that a little bit later. There's the coast. Upper 50s, inland, eventually in the 60s, as well as places like Weaverville by next week. For Siskiyou, Modoc County, the Eastern Mountains, also seeing that warmer weather as we go into next week. All right, so we got that one last weak storm system for tonight. It's going to bring us some of the snow I mentioned, maybe a chance for a few showers in the valley, nothing significant. But we do expect after tonight and into tomorrow, a dry and mild pattern, that is, in the long range. And could we be talking about the return of that Tule radiation fog? It's a possibility. And this pattern, this dry and mild pattern, will most likely last at least through the middle of the month, and some models indicating even longer than that. So we're going to get into all of that in our deeper dive forecast, sponsored by Shasta Hearing Aids.
Frank, come help with the dishes.
What?
The dishes!
I heard it the first time. I just got back from Shasta Hearing Aids, but she doesn't know it yet. What?
Forget it.
All right, so a series of 2 weak systems passing through. The first one came through this morning. This is the one that's going to be moving through here this evening and tonight and bringing us some of that lower elevation. So it's got some colder air associated with it. So let's take you through Futurecast. And there you can see we take you to about 10 o'clock tonight. There you can see the scattered snow flurries that we are seeing across the region. And it's, again, not going to be a ton of snow. And I think the most and the bulk of it will be in this area here. But, you know, some of these lower mountain communities may see some flakes. Places like Etna, places like Fort Jones, Hayfork, Weaverville. We could even see some minor accumulation in the Bernie area, getting down to about 3,000 feet. Fall River, MacArthur, right? Fall River Mills, that is. You can see it take you out to Susanville, possibly seeing some of that. Chester, possibly seeing some snow. Mount Shasta City, Wairika. So a lot of areas that haven't seen snow may see light amounts. We're talking about a dusting once you get down to about 2,000, 2,500 feet, right? If we can even get it that low. But then look at this. By tomorrow morning, it's done. We're done with it. And then it looks like as we go through the afternoon tomorrow, more sunshine and temperatures still on the cool side though. We do still have that winter weather advisory in effect until 1 o'clock tomorrow morning. For elevations above 2,500 feet in western Siskiyou County, you're talking upwards of 6 inches of snow. When I say that above 2,500 feet, you're probably going to have to go to 3,000, 3,500 feet before you start getting into that 6-inch range. But places, again, like Fort Jones and Etna, you know, you could pick up a couple inches. We'll see. But bottom line, this is what we've got here as we go through the night and into tomorrow morning. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the forecast snow totals. And again, this is through tomorrow morning. There's the bulk of it, right? Kind of right here to the north and west. And meanwhile, also the Warner Mountains seeing some of that snow as well. And then a lot of it will melt by the time we get into the next few days. And the overall pattern as we go into the weekend and next week is this: a ridge of high pressure. Now, I want to take you back several weeks when we saw that Tule fog, that radiation fog we saw, right? That persistent fog. Well, what led up to that, number one, is we may remember we saw a lot of rainfall, and then we saw a dry pattern, and we saw a ridge of high pressure, much like this. That kept the air stagnant. We saw a bit of a temperature inversion in the atmosphere, that is the temperature increasing with height. Perfect ingredients for that fog to develop. Well, if this holds true, all the rain that we've seen over the last few weeks, we've got all the moisture in the ground in the lower levels of the atmosphere. We can cool things off at night. That will allow us to see that radiation fog to develop. And still the low angle of the sun, it'll be hard for the sun to burn off that fog throughout the day. So there's that chance of that fog persisting all day long in many cases. Now, much like what we saw with the last series of Tule fog, north end of the valley tended to see some clearing, and I think that could possibly be the case. But that is something we're watching here very closely, especially as we go into the weekend and into early next week. In the meantime, though, the overall pattern is calling for drier than normal conditions and warmer than normal conditions outside of any fog developing. And I say that because take a look at the 10-day trend. And this is what happened even during our last Tule fog and radiation fog event, is that the forecast models don't pick up on that fog. It just sees high pressure in the warmer temperatures. So that's what it's seeing right now, right? Upper 60s for the valley as we go into early in the middle of next week. However, if we see fog on those days and it persists all day long, you're talking more like the upper 40s and low 50s for those daytime highs. It'll be much cooler out there. So that's something we'll have to kind of monitor and watch very closely. But we potentially have some much warmer weather for next week. Let's just hope that fog doesn't really take over. All right, so there you can see that those wave heights are actually going to start to eventually drop as we take you into Friday. So that certainly is some good news. All right, let's take a look at your Dignity Health neighborhood forecast. And there you can see here, the temperatures are going to be in the low to mid 40s for your daytime highs on Thursday. Still cool. So yes, we're drying things out and we're clearing things out. But we still have some cold air in place, and that's going to keep those temperatures on the cool side. Upper 40s to low 50s for the North Coast. And for Siskiyou County, I mean, you're only getting up to 39 in Wairika, 36 for Mount Shasta City. It is going to be downright cold throughout the day, but we do expect eventually these temperatures to increase. I mean, look at the temperatures in Modoc County. Low to mid 30s for your highs, right? But again, we're back in the 40s by Friday, Saturday, and in the 50s by Monday, Tuesday. For the Eastern Mountains, mainly in the 30s, although places like Shingletown about 45, 46 out in Paradise, but it's also warming up there as well. There's a look at your Valley neighborhood forecast of the south. Upper 40s, 50s for Oroville, and then eventually up to around 60 by next Wednesday. All right, here's your 7-day forecast for Chico. So again, take note that you do have those temperatures in the low 50s. There are going to be some clouds. Now, Saturday, Sunday, you see the mostly cloudy skies. That's, in a sense, kind of hinting at that potential of that fog that we could see. All right, so we take a look at the Valley neighborhood forecast to the north. only reaching the upper 40s to about 50 for that daytime high on Thursday. And again, the overnight low, you saw that. It's going to drop down in freezing point in some cases for the valley, making for a very cold start to the day. And then we see temperatures slowly increase. We hope the fog doesn't develop. If the fog doesn't develop, we're talking about temperatures in the mid to upper 60s by Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. All right, that's a look at your evening update. I'll be back again tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. and we'll be live on Coffee with Krueger at 6:30. Have a great night.